The history of Mariam Soulakiotis. Mariam was born in 1900 in Greece, but little is known about her childhood. The scarce accounts tell us that she grew up in a poor family and worked in a farm until the age of 23. One day she met Father Matthew, an Orthodox priest sharply at odds with the old calendarists. Father Matthew realized his ideas were too different from those of the old calendarists and decided to establish a new sect that would later be named New Calendarists. Mariam joined the sect, and thanks to her strong character she quickly climbed its ranks, managing to exercise control over it. After the founder's death, in 1939, she officially took the lead. Soulakiotis developed a keen interest in Father Matthew's New Calendarists, and subsequently left home to become part of the sect and help him run the convent. Mariam reports Soulakiotis was known for her strong character. Shortly after joining the convent, she began taking control and managing a number of aspects of the monastery and convent's management, and the recruitment of new members to the sect. Once in charge, she started an aggressive recruitment policy and pushed her followers to scout for new proselytes, preferably wealthy women willing to donate their assets to the sect. Once recruited, the new members would begin a life of imprisonment and penances. They had to endure lengthy fasting and penances to drive away the devil and earn themselves paradise. Newly recruited members of the New Calendarists were not only required to relinquish their property and money to the church. Mother Superior Mariam Soulakiotis also forced them to confess their sins, fast, and maintain silence to prove their commitment to the church. They were also deprived of sleep and forced to spend a majority of their time praying. Those who refused to comply were subjected to harsh punishment, including beatings. Sometimes Mariam herself took part in their flagellations, effectively turning them into tortures. The nun's strong personality forced everyone into silence and any contact with the world outside. The monastery was forbidden. Because of this treatment, many followers died of malnutrition, the hard manual labor to which they were forced, and the tortures. Following Father Matthew's death in 1939, Soulakiotis took complete control over the sect. By all accounts, her rules and punishments were severe, if not torturous. In addition to actual beatings, many members were subjected to debilitating hard labor and were often denied food. As reported by Mariam, a startling number of members of the New Calendarists died of malnutrition, the hard manual labor, and the tortures. By 1949, local villagers started realizing something was going terribly wrong at the monastery and convent. Unknown misandry reports the villagers often heard screaming coming from the property, and rumors of torture began to spread throughout the region. However, authorities were not alerted to the concerns until 1950, when the daughter of a recent convert alerted authorities to report some of the sect's misdeeds. Mariam's power endured throughout the 40s of last century, but toward the end of the decade something began to crack. The arrest. The police received many reports of horrible cries coming from the monastery, and following the complaint of a follower's daughter, they decided to check on the monastery. They discovered people in inhuman conditions and even a girl who had been made to believe she was an orphan. A process ensued, and in 1951 the nun, nicknamed the woman Rasputin, was sentenced to 26 months in prison for the illegal custody of the girl found in the monastery. Unfortunately, there was no evidence that could demonstrate her murders, but the authorities later confirmed the death of 177 people. In 1952, Mariam, 8 nuns and a phony bishop were accused of not having provided food and medicines to a monk and 3 nuns, making them die and stealing their belongings. Soulakiotis's trial began in September 1951. She was convicted on multiple charges and initially sentenced to 26 months in prison. On February 6, 1953, she was tried again on additional charges, including causing the deaths of at least 1 monk and 3 nuns. She was also convicted on those charges and sentenced to another 10 years in prison. During her final trial, which concluded on November 18, 1953, Soulakiotis was convicted of abuse, embezzlement, fraud, and illegal detention. She was ultimately sentenced to 4 more years in prison, which were to be served concurrently with her prior sentences. Mariam was one of the most prolific serial killers in history, using her great personality to manipulate and lead to death her followers. Some people still believe Soulakiotis was a saint. Mother Superior Mariam Soulakiotis died in Avarif prison in 1954 at the age of 71. Until the day she died, she professed her innocence and said the accusations against her were satanic fictions. However, her followers reportedly continued her efforts to recruit new members, although authorities forbade him from doing so. Unknown Misandry reports a number of teenage girls who had previously expressed interest in joining. The new calendarists vanished from the region in the years following the woman Rasputin's death. It is unknown who, if anyone, actually continued the recruiting, and what happened to the missing teens. As reported by Everything Explained Today, the monastery remained open as recently as 2019, and some members maintained Soulakiotis was innocent of the crimes she was accused and convicted of. Many of the members continue to view her as a saint. More info